The perpetual acid rain of Neo-Aethelburg sheets down in shimmering, neon-drenched curtains, turning the soaring megastructures of the city center into blurred pillars of cold, corporate light. Down here in the canyon-like streets of the rust, the rain doesn't cleanse. It merely redistributes the grime, mixing with the slick of leaked coolant, stale synth brew, and the metallic tang of ozone from overburdened power conduits. This is where the city's gleaming promise of technological utopia curdles and dies, replaced by the desperate, wheezing heartbeat of its illicit underbelly. Kaelen moves through the crowded, narrow alleyways, a ghost in a city of ghosts, her worn leather jacket pulled tight against the damp chill that seeps deep into the bones. The air is a thick soup of sensory overload. The sizzle of street vendor grills selling questionable protein patties, the thrumming bass of illegal data streams bleeding from open doorways, the cacophony of a dozen different languages shouted in barter and threat. Glowing holographic signs in fractured Mandarin, Cyrillic, and corporate logos flicker and sputter, their light reflecting in the endless puddles that coat the uneven permacrete, creating a disorienting, upside-down world beneath her boots. Her left arm, the source of her current desperation, hangs heavy and useless at her side, a dead weight of polished corporate chrome and biopolymer that feels increasingly like a coffin for her own flesh and bone. It's a licensed OmniCorp Model 47Z, workhorse. A sleek gray limb she's been paying off for 3 years, a symbol of a legitimacy that now feels like a cruel joke. A low, persistent throb, a phantom ache from a nerve stump the corporate docs said couldn't feel pain, pulses in time with the glitching twitches of the arm's actuators. She can feel the delicate, hair-fine filaments that interface with her motor cortex sputtering, sending jolts of static fire up into her shoulder. Each misfire is a tiny electric scream, a reminder of the catastrophic failure that is slowly, inexorably consuming her. Her thoughts are a frantic, desperate loop, a silent scream against the injustice of it all. Just a few more months of payments. Just a few more data runs. That's all I needed. Now it's going to seize up completely, and the repo men will come, and they'll take it, and they'll leave me with nothing but a scar and a debt for a limb I can no longer use. She remembers the glitch that started this downward spiral with terrifying, crystalline clarity. It was just 2 nights ago, a high-stakes data-courier job for an anonymous client with deep, untraceable credits. The payload was a shimmering, encrypted data slate, cold and heavy in her pack. The drop was in the Cyberpunk district, a zone of such sterile, corporate opulence it made her skin crawl. She was leaping across a gap between 2 sky bridges, 100 stories above the teeming streets, the city a vast, glittering circuit bored below her. It was a simple jump, one she'd made a dozen times before. But as she pushed off, her left arm, her workhorse, her trusted, corporate-sanctioned tool betrayed her. The elbow joint locked mid-swing with a sickening, grinding crunch of protesting metal. Her trajectory faltered. For a heart-stopping second, she was suspended over a void, the wind whipping at her clothes, the neon signs of the city blurring into streaks of meaningless color. She'd only saved herself by slamming her right, organic hand onto the opposite ledge, her fingers scraping raw on the cold alloy, her body swinging violently and crashing into the bridge's support struts. The pain was immense, a white-hot explosion in her shoulder, but the terror was worse. The absolute, gut-wrenching certainty that her own body, or at least the corporate-manufactured part of it, had tried to kill her. She decompleted the drop, her body trembling with adrenaline and shock, the client none the wiser. But she knew. The arm was dying, and it was taking her with it. Which is why she's now deep in the rust, seeking a solution as illegal as it is dangerous. The name she dug up, through layers of encrypted forums and whispered warnings from other down-on-their-luck couriers, is the graft. A tech surgeon, unlicensed, unregistered, and supposedly a genius with black-market cybernetics. The directions lead her to a dead-end alley that smells powerfully of rancid oil and decaying fish, a scent so thick it feels like a physical presence coating the back of her throat. A single flickering red neon sign in the shape of a stylized, pulsing heart casts a bloody, rhythmic glow on a reinforced steel door, scarred with deep gouges and blotches of rust. There is no handle, only a small, dark lens of a retinal scanner, its surface smeared with grime. Her heart hammers against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat of pure fear. This is the point of no return. Corporate tech was one thing. It came with warranties and service agreements, a sterile, if soul-crushing, safety net. This was delving into the city's raw, unregulated viscera. Taking a deep, shuddering breath that does little to calm her nerves, she raises her right fist and knocks 3 times, the sound echoing dully in the confined, reeking space. A long, tense moment passes where the only sound is the relentless drip, drip, drip of water from a broken pipe overhead, and the distant, thudding music from another establishment. Then, with a hiss of equalizing pressure, a small slot slides open in the door at eye level. A pair of cold, cybernetic eyes, their lenses glowing with a soft, amber light, peer out at her, assessing her with a dispassionate, mechanical intensity. "State your business," a voice rasps from the other side, a voice like grinding gears, filtered through a cheap vox modulator. I need a graft," Kaelen says, forcing her own voice to remain steady, though she can feel a fine tremor running through her entire body. "Unarmed. My corporate unit is failing. Catastrophically. Licensed." The voice grates. "Omnicorp. 47Z. Junk. Planned obsolescence. They build the failure right into the core programming. Come to the right place." The slot snaps shut. For another heart-pounding second, Kaelen thinks she's been rejected, left standing in the stinking alley. But then, with a series of heavy, metallic thunks, the door swings inward, revealing a dimly lit, cavernous space beyond. The air inside the Graft's workshop is a complex, overwhelming cocktail of smells. The sharp, sterile scent of antiseptic and isopropyl alcohol fights a losing battle against the heavier, more pervasive odors of hot solder, warm engine grease, and something uniquely, unnervingly organic, the coppery tang of blood and the faint, sweet smell of cultured neural tissue. The lighting is a patchwork of bright, focused surgical lamps hanging from the high, shadowy ceiling, and the dim, multicolored glow from dozens of active diagnostic screens and holodisplays. The walls are lined with shelves and racks, a horrifying and fascinating museum of flesh and metal. Jar after jar of pale, floating cybernetic components, actuators, myomer bundles, synthetic nerve clusters, are stacked next to skeletal endoskeletons of arms and legs. In one corner, a large, transparent tank holds a complete, unskinned cybernetic arm, its intricate wiring and pistons visible, suspended in a bubbling, clear nutrient fluid. And in the center of it all, standing over a stainless steel operating table stained with dark, unidentifiable blotches, is the Graft. He is a mountain of a man, or what was once a man. His own body is a testament to his trade, a haphazard collection of mismatched cybernetics. One of his arms is a brutish, industrial-looking piston-driven claw, while the other is a more delicate, multi-jointed appendage, with several fine, surgical tools whirring quietly at the fingertips. Wires and reinforced coolant lines snake up his neck, and into a jaw that is half flesh, half chromed steel. His one organic eye regards her with a weary, cynical intelligence. "You have credits," he rumbles, his voice now unfiltered, a deep bass that vibrates in Kaelen's chest. "Some. I have a down payment. I can work off the rest," Kaelen says, her voice barely a whisper as her own organic eyes are drawn to the terrifying, beautiful pieces of anatomy surrounding her. "This isn't a clinic, it's a chop shop for human beings." The Graft snorts, a puff of air from his organic nostril. "Work. Everyone says that. I don't deal in promises. I deal in hardware." He gestures with his surgical hand towards her failing arm. "Let's see the damage." The Graft's delicate tools come to life, their tips glowing with soft, blue light. He runs a scanner over the limb, his cybernetic eye whirring as it focuses. Data streams across a nearby holoscreen, error codes, failing power cell readings, corrupted neural pathways. He grunts. "It's worse than you think. The cascade failure is already reaching your shoulder junction. Another week, maybe 2, and the feedback will fry what's left of your natural nerve endings. You'd be a cripple, and not even a clean one. A messy, painful cripple. She knew it was bad, but hearing it stated so clinically, so finally, makes her feel faint. What are my options? He punches a code into a keypad, and the door hisses open, releasing a cloud of freezing white vapor. He reaches in and pulls out a long, sealed container. He places it on the table next to her with a weighty thud. With a twist of his claw, he pops the lid. Kaelen's breath catches in her throat. Nestled within the plush, black foam lining is an arm. But it is nothing like her clunky, corporate workhorse. This is a thing of deadly, elegant beauty. The outer casing is a matte black carbon-weave material, seamless and smooth, etched with faint, almost organic-looking patterns that seem to shift in the low light. The joints are complex, multi-articulated masterpieces of engineering, promising speed and precision her old arm could never comprehend. The hand is slender, with articulated fingers that end in subtly reinforced tips. It looks less like a tool and more like a predator. This, the graft says, a note of pride entering his rough voice, is a Revenant-class limb. Military-grade, pre-corporate wars. Fully neural integrated, self-repairing nanoweave strength amplification matrix. It's unregistered, untraceable. It'll make you faster, stronger. It'll make you a god on these. The interior of the graft's workshop seems to close in around Kaelen, the air growing thicker, heavier, as her gaze remains locked on the limb nestled in the cryo-container. The Revenant-class arm is a stark, beautiful void against the plush black foam, its matte black carbon-weave surface seeming to drink the chaotic light of the room, reflecting nothing. Those faint, shifting patterns etched into its surface look like circuitry one moment, and archaic, forgotten script the next. It is the absolute antithesis of her clunky, corporate workhorse. Where her old arm was a utilitarian tool, this is a statement of lethal intent. I can't afford this, Kaelen finally whispers, the words tearing themselves from a throat tight with a potent mixture of awe and terror. Her eyes flick from the perfect, predatory lines of the hand to the terrifying, mismatched figure of the graft. This looks like it belongs to a corporate assassin or a Black Ops soldier. This is too much. You think I stock standard-issue junk? This is the Rust, girl. We deal in excellence here, because excellence is what keeps you alive when the Corps or the gangs decide you're a problem. Your corporate workhorse was designed to fail. This, he says, tapping a heavy metallic claw against the container with a dull asterisk clink asterisk, was designed to endure. To overcome. The smell of ozone and old grease is overpowering. Your credits are a problem, yes, but your situation is a bigger one. That 47Z is a ticking time bomb wired directly into your spinal column. I can deactivate it, cut it out, and install this Revenant. You can pay me the rest of what you owe by doing a few deliveries for me. High risk, high reward. The kind of runs your new arm will be perfectly suited for. Deliveries for the graft. It's a euphemism, and they both know it. It means smuggling illegal tech, or worse, into zones even couriers like her avoid. It means indenturing herself to a black market warlord. But the phantom, fiery pain lancing up from her dying arm makes the decision for her. The memory of hanging from the sky bridge, her own limb betraying her, is more vivid than the grimy reality of the workshop. The fear of being left a neural-scrambled cripple, useless and indebted, is a colder, deeper terror than the fear of the graft. Do it, she says, the words feeling like shards of glass in her throat. Her voice is low, but it doesn't shake. A slow, grim smile spreads across the graft's part-metal face. Smart girl. Lie down on the table. This will sting. The corporate biolock on your 47Z doesn't like being removed by unauthorized users. The graft straps her down to the cold, stained steel table with heavy leather restraints. He doesn't use a general anesthetic, instead injecting a cocktail of localized neural blockers and a stimulant that keeps her horrifyingly, acutely aware of every sound, every smell, every sensation. She feels the cold bite of a scalpel, tracing the seam where her flesh meets the OmniCorp chrome. Then comes the real pain. As the graft's tools delve into the biolock interface, her own arm turns against her one final time. A defensive systems alert, designed to prevent exactly this kind of black market salvage triggers. Electricity, raw and vicious, arcs back through the neural interface into her nervous system. Her back arches against the restraints, a silent scream locked in her chest as her vision explodes into a supernova of static and blinding white light. She smells her own burning flesh, a sickly sweet scent that mixes with the ozone. It is a corporate punishment for daring to seek freedom, a final, spiteful jab from Omnicorp. Through the haze of torture, she hears the graft grunt, his surgical tools whirring with frantic intensity. Stubborn corporate garbage, almost there. There is a final, gut-wrenching asterisk crack of shattering circuitry, a sensation of something vital being violently unplugged from the very core of her being, and then nothing. A profound, deafening silence from her left side. A void where for years there had been the constant, low-level hum of a machine. She feels weightless, disconnected. Then she feels the cold. A new, different cold. The graft is lifting the revenant arm from its container. She sees its perfect, dark form in his claws before he brings it into her field of view. There are no wires, no obvious connection ports. As he aligns it with the freshly cut stump of her shoulder, now fitted with a universal neural coupling of his own design, she sees the carbon-weave surface of the arm seem to quiver asterisk. Microscopic filaments like living black silk extend from the revenant's coupling point, seeking, probing. The moment they make contact with her flesh, there is no pain. There is something else entirely. A asterisk click asterisk. A resonance. A feeling of something slotting into a place she never knew was empty. It is a deep, fundamental sense of asterisk rightness asterisk that is utterly terrifying. It feels more like a homecoming than an installation. The graft secures the housing, the locks engaging with a series of soft, definitive hums. The initial integration is complete. The nanoweave will handle the rest. Now try to move it. She looks at the arm, this foreign, beautiful object now attached to her body. She tentatively, fearfully, sends a mental command. Open the hand. The revenant's hand obeys. But it is not the sluggish, hydraulic response of her old arm. It is a fluid, instantaneous, and utterly silent unfolding. The fingers extend with a grace that is almost biological, the subtle reinforcements at the tips catching the light. She feels a feedback sensation, but it is not the crude pressure simulation of the workhorse. It is a hyperacute, high-definition stream of data, the cool, dry texture of the air, the minute vibrations from the workshop's machinery thrumming through the table, the specific density and temperature of the space around each finger. It is an overwhelming flood of sensory information, more than she has ever received from her own organic skin. She slowly, shakily sits up on the table, the leather restraints falling away. She raises the arm, turning the hand over in front of her face. It is hers. It doesn't feel grafted on, it feels awakened. She makes a fist and the actuators don't whine, they don't make a sound. The carbon weave plates slide over each other with a whisper-quiet, lethal precision. The strength is palpable, a coiled, potential energy resting in the forearm. She feels a hysterical laugh bubble up in her chest. She is whole. She is more than whole. The integration is perfect, the graft murmurs, studying a holoscreen displaying a waterfall of complex biometric data. Neural sync is at 99.8%. Unprecedented. It's like it was built for you. He looks at her, his cybernetic eye whirring as it focuses. Now for your first payment. A simple data snatch. A man named Silas runs a noodle bar in the Kowloon market sector. He has a package for me. You retrieve it. Consider it a test drive. She leaves the graft's workshop, stepping back out into the acid rain of the rust. But the world is different now. The sounds are crisper, the neon lights sharper. The weight of the dying arm is gone, replaced by a limb that feels like it contains the potential of a thunderstorm. She moves through the crowded alleys with a new, predatory grace, her senses heightened, her confidence surging. This was the best decision she's ever made. It isn't until later, back in the cramped, humid safety of her own tiny apartment, that the first glitch occurs. She is staring at her reflection in the dark, streaked surface of her window, watching the rain distort the neon signs outside. She raises the revenant hand, marveling at its dark silhouette against the city's glow. And for a single, heart-stopping second, her reflection is not her own. The face in the window is sharper, with high cheekbones and eyes full of a fierce, intelligent fury, framed by a shock of short-cropped white hair. A face she has never seen before. A violent, overwhelming surge of emotion that is not hers crashes into her mind. A torrent of betrayal, of white-hot rage, and a profound, gut-wrenching grief. It is accompanied by a single, clear, and terrifyingly alien thought that echoes through her consciousness, as if shouted in the silent, confined space of her own skull. Find them. Kaelen stumbles back from the window, her breath catching in raw, panicked gasps, clutching the traitorous, perfect limb with her organic hand as she stares wide-eyed at her own, familiar and terrified reflection, now utterly alone in the room but for the ghost in the gear. The ghost in the machine does not speak again for 3 days, but its presence is a constant, suffocating pressure in Kaelen's mind, a silent scream lodged in the heart of her new cybernetic arm. The initial, giddy euphoria of the revenant limb's perfect integration has curdled into a deep-seated, gnawing terror. She spends the next 72 hours locked in her coffin-sized apartment, a single room perched high in a dilapidated residential stack that groans and shudders with the passage of every maglev train on a nearby track. The perpetual acid-tinged rain of Neo-Aethelburg streaks her window in endless, grimy rivulets, turning the vibrant, neon-lit cityscape outside into a blurred, impressionist painting of despair. She stares at the revenant arm, this beautiful, treacherous thing, watching the way the faint, shifting patterns in its matte black carbon weave seem to pulse with a slow, rhythmic light, a visual echo of a heartbeat that is not her own. She tries to rationalize the event at the window. A neural feedback loop, a residual memory echo from the arm's previous owner, a psychic scar left in the hardware, a hallucination brought on by stress, pain, and the potent cocktail of black market neuroblockers the graft pumped into her system. But the raw, visceral intensity of the emotions, the searing betrayal, the molten rage, felt too real, too specific asterisk to be anything but a ghost. And then there are the phantom sensations, the glitches that are not malfunctions but violations. The sudden, overwhelming scent of ozone and jasmine in her sterile apartment, a fragrance that makes her stomach clench with a nausea that isn't hers. The fleeting, disorienting taste of a specific, expensive brand of synth coffee on her tongue, bitter and familiar. The uncontrollable twitch in the revenant's index finger, tapping out a frantic, repetitive rhythm against any surface, a pattern that feels like a code or a plea. The breaking point comes on the 3rd night. Exhausted, she finally succumbs to a fitful sleep on her thin mattress, the revenant arm lying heavy and alien at her side. And she dreams. But it is not a dream. It is a memory. Her asterisk memory. She is running. The ground beneath her boots is not the uneven, garbage-strewn permacrete of the rust, but the polished, sterile white flooring of an omni-corp administrative sector. The air is filtered, scentless cold. The lighting is a uniform, oppressive brightness that leaves no shadows to hide in. Her heart is hammering, not with Kaelen's fear, but with a desperate, determined fury. In her hand, a hand she recognizes as the revenant, but gleaming, new in a corporate chrome finish, is a data slate, its surface glowing with a single, incriminating file. The label reads, Project Echo, Neural Scanning and Consciousness Mapping for Enhanced Interrogation and Asset Repurposing. Behind her, the urgent, synchronized footfalls of corporate security echo, growing louder. She rounds a corner and slams the data slate into a public data terminal's transfer port. Just need a few more seconds. A voice, her own yet not her own, whispers, a voice laced with a sharp, intelligent resolve. The world needs to see this. A shadow falls over her. She looks up. A tall, severe-looking man in an impeccably tailored Omnicorp executive suit stands there, his face a mask of cold disappointment. He has no name in the memory, only a title, Director Valerius. Nix, he says, his voice dripping with a paternalistic venom. "We gave you everything. This is how you thank us." He raises a small, discreet device. There is a flash of blinding, blue light, and an agony beyond anything Kaelen has ever known erupts from the chrome arm, a systemic shock that fries the neural links from the inside out. The last thing she sees is Director Valerius's pitiless eyes. The last thing she feels is the cold floor rushing up to meet her face. The last thing she thinks is, they know. The phantom pain of the neural shock still tingles like a live wire in the revenant arm. The name echoes in the silence of her apartment, a name she now knows as intimately as her own. "Nix. The ghost has a name. You saw it, didn't you?" A voice says, clear as crystal, resonant not in the room but within the very architecture of her mind. It is the same voice from the memory, Nix's voice, sharp, layered with a weary, cynical intelligence and a core of unbreakable steel. It lacks the raw, emotional scream of the first contact. This is a controlled, deliberate communication. Kaelen clutches her head, rocking back and forth on the mattress. "Get out of my head," she whimpers, her own voice a pathetic, broken thing. "Please just get out." The scan was a two-way street, Kaelen. They weren't just mapping my mind for their project. They were imprinting it onto the ARM's core processor as a stability template. A ghost to stabilize the machine. Your neural sync was so perfect, it didn't just integrate the hardware. It integrated *me*. A wave of cold, contemptuous laughter fills her consciousness. The graft is a talented mechanic, but he doesn't know what he's selling. Omnicorp's Revenant class isn't for soldiers. It's for their own Black Ops units. And for dissidents they want to repurpose. My body is in a cold storage drawer in an Omnicorp facility, my brain a burned-out husk from their scan. But *I, my consciousness, my memories, my *rage, they're here. With you. So what? What do you want from me? Revenge. I'm a courier, not an assassin. I just wanted a working arm. Project Echo isn't just about interrogation. It's the foundation for a new line of cybernetics. Limbs and organs preloaded with the skills, memories, and compliant personalities of their donors. A soldier who never questions orders because his arm remembers the perfect loyalty of its previous owner. A corporate drone who works tirelessly because her lung's previous host was a champion marathon runner. They're not just selling hardware, Kaelen. They're selling souls. And they murdered me to keep it quiet. It strides over to Kaelen's small, cluttered desk, its fingers dancing across the keyboard of her personal terminal with a speed and precision Kaelen could never muster. A complex 3D schematic of a towering, monolithic structure materializes in the holographic display, the Omnicorp Arcology, a city within a city in the heart of the corporate sector. This is where they keep the primary Project Echo data, Nix says, the arm gesturing towards a heavily fortified sub-level on the schematic. The local copy, the one I tried to expose. It's air-gapped, behind 3 layers of biometric security and a small private army. No, absolutely not. That's a suicide run. They'll kill us. Nix's voice rings with a furious, desperate truth. The graft's test run. The man you retrieved that package from Sila's. He was one of my contacts. Omnicorp Security has already raided his noodle bar. They're tracing the chain. It's only a matter of time, hours maybe, before they connect the black market revenant graft to the data courier who was asking about Sila's. They won't ask questions, Kaelen. They'll just erase you. Just like they erased me. She looks from the impossible schematic on the screen to the revenant arm, now hanging innocently at her side once more, though she can feel the thrum of Nix's anxious energy within it. She is trapped. Trapped by a failing corporate arm that led her to a black market, trapped by a perfect black market arm that contains a ghost, and now trapped by the relentless, murderous machinery of the corporation that started it all. There is no way out. Only a way through. What would we have to do? Kaelen asks, her voice a hollow whisper, the words tasting like ash and surrender. The revenant hand flexes, the carbon weave plates shifting with a soft, lethal hiss. We use my knowledge of their systems, Nyx's thought voice replies, a grim, determined focus settling over them both. And we use your skills to get inside. There's a vulnerability. A maintenance conduit for the arcology's primary atmospheric processing unit. It's narrow, filthy, and barely monitored. It was my original infiltration route. We can use it again. The entire frame shudders. A voice, mechanically distorted and utterly devoid of emotion, barks from the hallway outside. Omnicorp security. Open the door. Compliance is mandatory. They're here. Already. Her eyes, wide with pure, undiluted panic, dart from the door to the revenant arm, to the glowing schematic of the Omnicorp arcology on her terminal. Nyx's consciousness surges forward, a tidal wave of adrenaline and fierce, survivalist instinct that momentarily drowns out Kaelen's own terror. The revenant arm snaps up, its fingers curling into a fist, its targeting reticle, a function Kaelen never knew it had, flaring to life in her vision, painting a glowing red dot on the door's central locking mechanism. Forget the plan. Nyx's voice cuts through the chaos in her mind, sharp and commanding. We do this now. We go through the window. The arm swings towards the rain-streaked pane of glass, the one through which Nyx first manifested. It's a 90-story drop. But with this arm, and my knowledge of the city's external maintenance grid, we can make it. It's that or they scrap us both. The world dissolves into a screaming vortex of wind, rain, and sheer, gut-wrenching vertigo. The moment the revenant arm, propelled by Nyx's desperate will, smashes through the reinforced window of Kaelen's 90th floor apartment, reality becomes a chaotic, downward plummeting blur. The shattering glass doesn't tinkle. It explodes outward in a million glittering shards, each fragment catching the neon glow of the city in a final, beautiful, deadly sparkle before being swallowed by the abyss below. The roar of the megacity, previously a distant, rumbling bass note, instantly transforms into a deafening, full-spectrum cacophony. The shrieking of wind past her ears, the Doppler-distorted wail of maglev trains on distant tracks, the omnipresent hum of a billion lives being lived at terminal velocity. Kaelen's stomach lurches into her throat, her breath stolen by the violent acceleration. This is it. This is how she dies. Splattered on the permacrete like so much discarded organic waste. But the revenant arm has other ideas. Even as Kaelen's mind screams in primal, unadulterated terror, she feels the limb move with a purpose that is utterly alien to her. It's not her will guiding it, it's a ghost. Nyx's consciousness is a cool, focused fire in the heart of the storm, her intent flowing through the arm's nanoweave and actuators like a pre-programmed survival instinct. The arm whips out, its fingers splayed, and with a deafening, bone-jarring asterisk clang, it slams into a thick, rust-streaked girder running vertically down the side of the residential stack. Sparks fly in a brilliant, orange-white shower, illuminating the frantic terror on Kaelen's face for a split second. The impact sends a seismic shock up through her shoulder, a pain so intense she's certain the arm has been torn from its socket. But the coupling holds, the revenant's grip is absolute, and her plummet becomes a violent, swinging arc. Don't fight me. Nyx's voice is a razor-sharp command in her mind, cutting through the panic. Your body will follow the arm's lead. I know the path. The revenant arm releases its grip, and for another heart-stopping second, they are in free fall again, the wind tearing at Kaelen's clothes and hair. Then the arm strikes another target, a cluster of thick, insulated coolant pipes, steaming and hot to the touch even through the lashing rain. The arm's grip is precise, finding a secure bracket and using their momentum to swing them laterally, Kaelen's legs flailing wildly beneath her. She can feel the searing heat of the pipes through the carbon weave, a sensation that is both a warning and a confirmation of the arm's incredible sensory feedback. They are not descending in a straight line. They are ricocheting, parkouring down the face of the colossal megastructure in a series of controlled, terrifying leaps and grabs, a route only someone with an intimate, blueprint-perfect knowledge of the city's skeleton could possibly navigate. Above, the shattered window of her apartment is now a distant, glowing square. She sees dark, armored figures silhouetted against the light, the Omnicorp security team, their weapons tracking her descent. A silent, bright muzzle flash. A high-energy plasma bolt sizzles past her head, close enough that she feels the static charge make the fine hairs on her neck stand on end. The smell of ionized air, sharp and acrid, cuts through the petrochemical stink of the rain. "They're shooting." Kaelen mentally screams, her thoughts a jumble of sheer, undiluted fear. Of course they're shooting. They're not here to negotiate. Nix's retort is laced with a grim, almost manic energy. The revenant arm releases the pipes, and they drop another 20 stories in a blur, the arm snagging a dangling fiber-optic cable bundle. The cable groans under their combined weight, swinging them in a wide, nauseating arc over a vertiginous drop into a canyon of flickering advertising hollows. Another plasma bolt vaporizes a section of the cable just above them. "Left. Now." Nix barks. This time, Kaelen doesn't hesitate. She throws her organic weight to the left, and the revenant arm complies, using the motion to propel them towards a wide, grime-encrusted ledge on an adjacent, slightly shorter building. A massive atmospheric processing unit, its vents exhaling great, hot, chemical-smelling clouds into the night. They hit the ledge hard, Kaelen's knees buckling as she rolls, the rough, wet permacrete scraping the skin from her organic palm. She lies there for a moment, gasping, her heart trying to beat its way out of her chest, the cold rain pelting her face. The revenant arm lies beside her, its dark form almost invisible against the ledge, but she can feel the hum of its power core, a predator resting after the hunt. "We lost them for now," Nix's thought voice comes, slightly breathless, the focused intensity giving way to a sliver of shared relief. "The thermal plume from these vents will mask our signature. But they'll have drones in the air within minutes. We can't stay here." She looks at the revenant arm, this thing that has just saved her life by nearly giving her a heart attack. The terror is still there, a cold knot in her stomach, but it's now mingled with something else, a raw, electrifying awe. The arm's performance was supernatural. The strength, the precision, the unerring instinct. It was a symphony of lethal grace, and she was merely the instrument. You knew exactly where to go," Kaelen thinks, the mental words shaky. "I told you." "I was a whistleblower, not a clerk," Nix replies, a hint of her old, sharp pride returning. "I spent 6 months planning my infiltration. I mapped every external conduit, every service ledge, every weak point in their perimeter. This was always my emergency exit. I just never got to use it." Kaelen feels a pang of sympathy, so unexpected and sharp it makes her gasp. This isn't just a ghost, this is a person. A murdered person. And she is now wearing the coffin. "So what now?" Kaelen asks aloud, her voice hoarse from screaming against the wind. "We can't go to the arcology like this." She gestures down at her own body, at her soaked, torn clothes, her scraped and bleeding hands. "We look exactly like what we are, a fugitive who just jumped out of a window." "Completely," Nix states, her tone becoming strategic analytical. "The rust is compromised. Your apartment is a crime scene. Omnicorp will have every public and private camera in a 10-kilometer radius feeding, our last known location, into their predictive algorithms. We need to go deeper, to a place even the corporate scans can't penetrate." Kaelen asks, a fresh wave of dread washing over her. She thought the rust was the bottom. The idea that there is something asterisk deeper is profoundly unsettling. "The underflow," Nix says, and the name carries a weight of finality and dread in Kaelen's mind. The old city, submerged when they raised the new foundations. A labyrinth of flooded transit tunnels, collapsed sublevels, and forgotten pre-corp infrastructure. It's a haven for the truly desperate, the genetically spliced, the AI. Fragments that escape the purges, and for people who need to be ghosts. A drowned world beneath the city, lit by bioluminescent fungi and stolen power, ruled by strange, watery tyrannies. It was a place you spoke of in hushed tones, a cautionary tale. To go there was to renounce the sun forever. There's a contact, Nix continues, pulling another memory to the forefront of their shared consciousness. An image forms in Kaelen's mind. A doorway shrouded in thick, swirling mist, hidden behind a thundering waterfall of runoff from the city's higher levels. The sign above it is corroded beyond recognition, but the symbol etched into the metal, a stylized, three-eyed fish, is clear. A man who calls himself the River King. He controls passage in and out of the flooded zones. He was one of my backup contacts. If he's still alive, and if we can pay his price, he can get us into the underflow. From there, we can plan our approach to the Omnicorp arcology through its submerged, and hopefully forgotten, lower foundations. It's a descent into a literal and figurative underworld. But as Kaelen looks out over the endless, rain-swept neon sprawl of Neo-Aethelburg, hearing the first, distant whine of Omnicorp seeker drones cutting through the atmospheric hum, she knows there are no sane options left. She is tied to a ghost, hunted by a corporation, and her only path forward is down. How do we find this River King? Kaelen asks, her voice barely a whisper, already resigned to the terrifying new reality. The revenant arm pushes itself up from the wet ledge, its movements once again fluid and assured. It points down, towards the street level, 100 stories below, where the neon lights shimmer in the flooded gutters. We follow the water, Nix says, her voice a grim whisper in the downpour. All the runoff, all the waste, all the rain, it all flows down to the same place. It all flows to the River King. As if on cue, a sleek black Omnicorp drone zips past their hiding place, its single red sensor eye scanning the thermal vents, its search pattern methodical and relentless. They have overstayed their welcome. The hunt is on, and the only direction left to run is into the drowning dark. The descent into the underflow is a journey into the city's rotting, submerged intestines. Following Nix's silent, navigational cues in her mind, Kaelen abandons the familiar, rain-slicked canyons of the rust for a different kind of darkness. She moves through a series of progressively more derelict service corridors, their walls weeping a thick, black sludge that smells of industrial waste and microbial decay. The hum of the city above becomes a distant, muffled thrum, replaced by the echoing drip of water in vast, empty spaces, and the low, guttural groan of stressed metal under immense hydraulic pressure. The air grows thick and humid, laden with a fungal, organic reek that coats the back of her throat. The lighting, what little there is, comes not from neon or LEDs, but from patches of pulsating, phosphorescent moss and fungi that cling to the corroded walls in sickly shades of green and blue, casting a wavering, submarine glow that distorts shadows and makes every shape seem alive and menacing. This is madness. We're walking into a tomb, Kaelen thinks, her organic hand trailing along a slime-covered pipe for balance, her boots sinking into an inch of stagnant, oily water on the floor. It's a sanctuary, Nix counters, her thought voice a steady if grim presence. Omnicorp's satellite surveillance can't penetrate the mineral deposits in the rock above us, and their drones are too large for the lower passages. Down here, their only eyes and ears are the ones they pay for. And the River King controls all of them. It is even more imposing in reality. A colossal arched storm drain, wide enough to drive 3 cargo haulers through side by side, yawns open before them. Through it, a veritable waterfall cascades down, a thunderous, relentless torrent of gray water churned up from the city's streets above, carrying with it a flotsam of discarded packaging, biohazardous medical waste, and the occasional, pale, unidentifiable organic mass. The roar is deafening, a physical force that vibrates through the permacrete beneath their feet and settles deep in Kaelen's bones. The mist it throws up is a cold, dense fog that reduces visibility to mere feet and soaks her to the skin in seconds, the water feeling greasy and unclean against her face. Just to the left of the cataract, almost completely obscured by the spray, is the doorway with the three-eyed fish symbol, a dark promise carved into the rust. He's behind there, Nix confirms, a note of caution entering her mental tone. Be ready. He is transactional, and his currency is rarely credits. It groans open on protesting hinges, revealing a chamber that was once a pre-corporate hydroelectric control room. The space is vast, the ceiling lost in shadows high above, where stalactites of mineral deposits and tangled wiring hang like the grasping fingers of long-dead giants. The room is lit by the same eerie, bioluminescent fungi that line the tunnels, cultivated here in large, bubbling tanks that give off a low, gurgling hum. The primary feature of the room is a deep, churning channel of black water that cuts through its center, a tributary of the main flow outside, moving with a powerful, silent current. The air is thick with the smell of stagnant water, ozone from flickering old machinery, and something else, the sharp, reptilian scent of wet scales. Seated on a makeshift throne of salvaged console parts and worn-out industrial machinery on a central island is the River King. He is not a man, but a creation of the deep. His lower body is submerged in the dark water, but what is visible is a massively built torso, covered not in skin, but in thick, iridescent, gray-green scales that shimmer in the fungal light. Gills flare on the sides of his thick neck, and his hands, resting on the arms of his throne, are webbed, with fingers that are too long and end in claws that tap rhythmically against the metal. His face is humanoid but alien, with wide, black, lidless eyes that reflect the room's green glow like a deep-sea predator, and a wide, lipless mouth. Wires and crude cybernetic enhancements are grafted directly into his flesh and scales, blinking with dull red and yellow lights, a testament to a life spent jury-rigging survival in this forgotten place. Two hulking brutes, their own bodies crudely augmented with recycled industrial cybernetics and breathing apparatuses that hiss and bubble, stand guard on either side of the channel, their expressions hidden behind scarred metal faceplates. The River King's black eyes fix on Kaelen as she approaches the water's edge, his head tilting in a distinctly avian, predatory gesture. "A new fish swims into my net," he says, his voice a wet, bubbling rasp as if it's filtered through water. "And this one smells of the world above, of rain and desperation." His gaze flicks pointedly to the revenant arm, and of very expensive, very problematic hardware. "I need to disappear." "The question is, what do you offer the river in return?" "Credits are meaningless down here. They cannot buy air, or clean water, or protection from the things that swim in the deeper dark." She feels Nix's consciousness surge forward, not to take control, but to feed her information, a name, a memory. "He doesn't want credits," Nix whispers in her mind. "He craves information. News from the world above. Tell him you know about the Omni-Corp dredging operation in the Sector 7 aquifers." "I don't have credits, but I have information. Omni-Corp is planning a subterranean dredging operation. They're targeting the Sector 7 geothermal aquifers. They're mapping the tunnels now. Your tunnels..." The only movement is the gentle pulsing of his gills. The playful, predatory air vanishes, replaced by a cold, calculating stillness. The two guards shift their weight, their hands moving to the heavy, rivet-studded clubs at their belts. "Explain," the River King commands, his bubbling voice now dangerously low. "They're not just looking for energy," Kaelen continues, the words flowing from Nix's knowledge. "They're testing a new sonic excavation tool. The byproduct frequency is disruptive to certain forms of life. The genetically altered, the spliced, the communities that live in the submerged sectors. They're writing the environmental impact reports now. They're calling the potential collateral damage acceptable losses. I have heard whispers of their machines, their probes in the deep water. You confirm them." His black eyes narrow. "This information has value, but passage through my domain requires a greater toll. A favor, to be collected when I deem it necessary." An open-ended favor to a creature like this is a leash around her neck, a debt that could demand anything. "Take the deal," Nix insists, her thought voice urgent. "We have no other options. We need his knowledge of the submerged access points to the arcology." The River King gives a slow, satisfied nod. "Good. Then I will give you your first payment. A guide." He makes a subtle gesture with one webbed claw. From the dark water at the edge of the chamber, a figure emerges. It is a woman, or something that was once a woman. She is slender, her skin pale and faintly translucent, showing a tracery of blue veins beneath. Her eyes are large and completely black, adapted for the absolute dark. Gills flutter on her neck, and her fingers and toes are long and webbed. She wears patched-together garments of waterproofed synth leather, and her only visible cybernetic is a complex-looking multi-lens optical device grafted over her right eye, its lenses clicking and whirring as it focuses on Kaelen. She moves with an unnerving, silent grace, barely causing a ripple in the water. "This is Rin," the River King announces. "She knows the flooded transit tunnels better than any of my children. She will take you as far as the old freight elevator that leads to the OmniCorp Arcology's sub-basements. The rest is up to you and your ghost." His lips peel back in a grim smile, revealing needle-sharp teeth. "The favor is now owed, little fish. Do not forget." The path leads them out of the throne room and into a maze of flooded tunnels. The world transforms completely. They are now walking through a universe of water and darkness. The tunnel is wide, the ceiling a low, dripping arch high above them. The water on either side of the walkway is deep and impenetrably black, reflecting the faint, ghostly glow of the bioluminescent algae that clings to the walls in swirling, galactic patterns. The only sounds are the echo of their own footsteps, the constant, plinking drip of water, and the occasional, mysterious splash from the depths. The air is cold and heavy, the fungal stench now mixed with the clean, mineral smell of deep, still water. They walk for what feels like an eternity, the silence broken only by Nyx's occasional, whispered direction in Kaelen's mind, confirming their path. Rin moves ahead, a silent, pale wraith, her cybernetic eye scanning the darkness, her head cocked as if listening to sounds Kaelen cannot hear. "How can you trust her?" Kaelen thinks to Nyx. "We can't," Nyx replies bluntly. "But the River King's power relies on his reputation for honoring his bargains. Betraying us now would be bad for business. For now, we are valuable assets." She points ahead. The tunnel opens into a vast, circular chamber, a pre-corporate transit hub now completely flooded. In the center of the chamber, rising from the black water like the skeleton of a long-dead leviathan, is a massive, rusted freight elevator. Its cage is a web of corroded metal, and the thick, greasy cables that once raised and lowered it hang limp and frayed. The control panel on the narrow platform before it is a gutted, scorched wreck. "This is it," Nyx says, her thought voice tense with a mixture of anticipation and dread. The elevator is dead, but the maintenance shaft is still accessible. We climb. The climb up the freight elevator shaft is a vertical journey into a special kind of hell. A slow, grueling ascent through a space that has been untouched by anything but decay and the relentless, dripping patience of the deep earth for decades. The maintenance ladder is a brutalist sculpture of rust and neglect, its rungs cold, slimy, and treacherously unstable under Kaelen's grip. Each upward pull is a test of faith, the metal groaning and shedding flakes of orange corrosion that patter down into the abyssal blackness below, the sounds of their fall swallowed by the immense, echoing silence of the shaft. The air is a thick, frigid mist, heavy with the metallic taste of rust and the cloying, fungal sweetness of the bioluminescent algae that clings to the walls in desperate, pulsating patches, casting a sickly, wavering green light that only deepens the shadows. The only constant sounds are the ragged, echoing rasp of Kaelen's own breath, the rhythmic, determined asterisk clink asterisk of the Revenant Arm's carbon-weave fingers on the rusted steel, and the endless, maddening asterisk drip, drip, drip of condensation falling from some unseen source high above, each drop feeling like a cold, mocking tap on the shoulder from the darkness itself. Rin, their guide from the drowned world below, moves with an unnerving, amphibious grace, scaling the ladder ahead of them as if she were born to it, her webbed fingers and toes finding purchase on surfaces that look impossibly smooth. She rarely looks back, a silent, pale specter in the gloom, her cybernetic eye a single, unblinking red point of light in the green-tinged darkness. Kaelen's muscles, both organic and cybernetic, scream in protest with every meter gained. The burn in her shoulders and back is a white-hot fire, and the fine, hypersensitive filaments of the revenant arm feed her a constant, overwhelming stream of data. The gritty, abrasive texture of the rust, the specific, alarming give of a compromised rung, the deep, resonant vibration that runs through the entire structure, a ghost of the machinery that once thrummed with life here. This is impossible. We'll never make it. My arms are going to give out, and I'm going to fall. I'm going to fall forever, Kaelen thinks, the panic a cold, tight knot in her chest, constricting her lungs and making each breath a struggle. Stop thinking and just climb. Nix's voice cuts through the fatigue-induced haze, a sharp, focused command that feels like a splash of cold water on her consciousness. Her presence in the arm is a steady, humming current of resolve, a core of unbreakable will that seems to reinforce Kaelen's own failing strength. The alternative is becoming a permanent resident of the underflow, and I've seen what's down there. You don't want that. Focus on the next rung. Only the next rung. The character of the shaft begins to change subtly. The thick fungal growth recedes, replaced by the cleaner, if still pervasive, scent of ozone and chilled, recycled air. The dripping lessens. The rust on the ladder becomes less severe, and the rungs feel more solid, more recently maintained. They are leaving the wild, drowned world of the underflow and entering the meticulously controlled, subterranean domain of OmniCorp. Finally, Rin halts her ascent, perched precariously on the ladder beside a large, heavy access hatch set into the wall of the shaft. The hatch is made of a dull, gray alloy, scarred and stained, but clearly still in use, marked with stenciled OmniCorp logos and warnings in several languages about unauthorized access and high-voltage hazards. Rin turns her head, her large, black eyes reflecting the faint green light as she looks down at Kaelen. She points a webbed finger at the hatch, then makes a series of quick, intricate gestures with her hands, a silent language of the deep. She says this is the limit of her passage, Nix translates, her thought voice tight with concentration. This hatch leads into a sub-basement utility corridor, a blind spot in their internal surveillance net. It's how I got in. The biometric scanners are on the next level up. This is where we part ways with our guide. Thank you, she whispers up to the silent woman, the words feeling inadequate in the face of the terrifying journey they have just shared. Rin simply stares for a moment, her expression unreadable, her cybernetic eye whirring softly as it focuses on Kaelen's face, then on the revenant arm. She gives a single, slow nod, a gesture that seems to carry a weight of grim understanding, or perhaps pity. Then, with the fluid silence of a creature returning to its element, she begins her descent, melting back into the green-tinged darkness below until she is nothing more than a memory. All right, Nix's voice returns, filled with a renewed, fierce intensity. This is it. The point of no return. Once we're through that hatch, we are inside the beast. Every second counts. The hatch has a manual release on this side, but it's likely alarmed. We need to be fast. It finds a recessed handle, crusted with age but still functional. On my mark, Nix instructs. 3, 2, 1, now. With a shriek of protesting metal that seems deafening in the confined space, the hatch swings inward. A wave of dry, sterile, chilled air washes over them, a shocking contrast to the humid, fungal atmosphere of the shaft. They scramble through the opening, pulling the heavy hatch closed behind them with a definitive, echoing asterisk thud that feels like sealing their own tomb. They are in a utility corridor, exactly as Nix had described. It is narrow and low-ceilinged, painted a uniform, dull gray, and illuminated by the cold, blue-white light of long-lasting LED strips set into the ceiling. The air hums with the powerful, industrial thrum of massive climate control systems and server farms, a constant, vibrating drone that is the true heartbeat of the OmniCorp arcology. The floor is spotless, the walls lined with color-coded pipes and thick bundles of fiber-optic cables, all meticulously labeled. It is the antithesis of the chaotic, organic decay of the world below. This is a place of absolute, sterile order, and it feels infinitely more threatening because of it. This way, Nix directs, and the revenant arm points down the corridor to the left. There's a service elevator at the end of this hall that bypasses the main security checkpoints. It requires a keycard I appropriated during my first infiltration. The access code should still be valid. The silence between them is tense, both of them listening for any sound that isn't the omnipresent drone of machinery. The boot falls of a patrol, the whine of a security drone, the chilling sound of an alarm. They reach the service elevator, a utilitarian metal box with a simple numeric keypad. The Revenant Arm's fingers fly over the keys, inputting a long, complex code with flawless precision. For a heart-stopping second, nothing happens. Then, with a soft, polite asterisk bing, the elevator doors slide open, revealing a pristine, empty interior. It worked, Kaelen breathes, a surge of relief so powerful it makes her knees feel weak. Don't celebrate yet, Nyx cautions, her thought voice grim. This just gets us to the right floor. The data vault itself is another matter entirely. They exit onto another, nearly identical utility corridor, but this one feels different. The air is colder, and the hum of machinery is quieter, replaced by a faint, high-frequency whine that sets Kaelen's teeth on edge. The lighting is more subdued. At the end of this corridor is a massive, circular door made of polished, reinforced bronzed alloy, like the entrance to a bank vault. This is it. The local data core for Project Echo. 3 layers of security, Nyx explains, her consciousness pulling up the schematic in Kaelen's mind. First, a biometric palm scanner. Second, a retinal scan. Third, a vocal passphrase. I have the clearance codes for all of them, but the moment we input them, it will log my identity, an identity that is supposed to be deceased, into the system. It will trigger a silent alarm in the security command center. We'll have maybe 5 minutes, 10 at the most, before a full tactical response team is on us. Exactly. We get in, we find the primary data spike for Project Echo, we get out. We do not stop for anything. Nyx's focus is absolute, a laser beam of intent. Are you ready? She feels a strange, calm settle over her. The fear is still there, a cold, hard stone in her gut, but it is now joined by a rising, defiant anger. She thinks of her failing corporate arm, of the sky bridge, of the searing neural shock in Nyx's memory, of Director Valerius's pitiless eyes. She nods, her own resolve hardening. I'm ready. The Revenant Arm reaches out and places its palm on the cold, glass surface of the biometric scanner. A beam of light sweeps over the carbon weave. For a terrifying moment, nothing happens. Then a soft green light glows on the panel. Accepted asterisk. 1 down, Nyx whispers. Next, the arm guides Kaelen's head towards the retinal scanner. A red laser dot appears, scanning her eye. She holds her breath, praying that the complex nanoweave and Nyx's neural imprint will somehow spoof the system. The scanner beeps, and another green light illuminates. Accepted asterisk. 2 down. Now for the hard part. Nyx takes a deep mental breath. The Revenant Arm's fingers curl slightly, a gesture of tense anticipation. The vocal passphrase. It has to be my voice. Then, using the arm's internal microspeaker, a voice that is unmistakably Nyx's, sharp, intelligent, and layered with a bitter irony, speaks a single, clear sentence into the Voxcaster. The ghost requests an audience. Then, with a series of heavy, mechanical thunks and a hiss of equalizing pressure, the massive, bronzed vault door begins to slide open, retracting.